school communicators. It's almost the start of a new school year, and I know storytelling is going to be different this year, and I'm excited about that, and you should be too. And if you are excited about finding those stories and looking for a new method, well, you are in luck. Veronica Johannsen, she is out of Brenham ISD in Texas, and she has an amazing story to share. She's just a year into her position, her first position with the school, and her journalism background is definitely coming into play because she is focused on telling stories. She has a very regimented routine of getting into the classrooms on her 8 campus district. She's got tactics, she's got tools, video tools, and other strategies that she uses to tell the stories. And you guys, one of her stories ended up on the Today Show. Yeah, and had a great story to tell, but also really impacted her district in an awesome way where, yes, one teacher was featured, and it was an amazing feature, but all of the teachers felt the love. The entire community was proud. So I'm really, really excited for you to learn from this interview with Veronica. Now, you guys, if you enjoy this podcast, will you give me a review? I haven't had any reviews for quite a while, and I really want to grab some more reviews because those reviews help more people find this podcast. And so you can give me a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-star review, but you can also write a review there over on Apple. I would greatly appreciate it. We are trying to help more school storytellers this year, and that would certainly help. And of course, you better hit the subscribe button. So let's get started with today's interview with Veronica. Hey, today's K-12 PR tip is just on making sure that you know about a very free tool to use to find help with social media for your school. And it's right on my website. You see, I have been writing blogs, really helpful, actionable articles for social media and schools since 2015. Yes, a long time. I've actually written over 400 articles, and you can access them on my website, social school 4, and that's the number 4, edu.com, and then just head over to the blog section, okay? So socialschool4edu.com/blog. And when you get there, you will see over on the right-hand side of your desktop, or if you scroll to the bottom of the page, there's a search bar. You can actually search by any topic and find a helpful article to help you out with your issue. Maybe it's, staff social media use, do's and don'ts, right? For their personal use or for inside of the school. Maybe you're searching for Instagram story ideas. Maybe you're looking for back to school ideas for social media. You guys, you can find it all there, totally free on my website. You just need to use the search tool, and it's probably there, right? I've probably written an article, and you'll find a great resource that will help you then tell your story. So just don't forget about that, socialschool4edu.com. Head over to blogs and take a look there. I actually publish a new one every other week, so I'm constantly adding to that library, but we have hundreds there for you to look at and review and to help. So I hope you enjoyed that tip. Now let's get into this week's interview with Veronica. Welcome to the podcast, Veronica.
Hi, Andrea. It's so nice to be here.
Yes, Wisconsin and Texas uniting today for our podcast interview. I'm excited to have Veronica Johannsen from Brenham ISD in Texas there. So, Veronica, why don't you introduce yourself, kind of tell us about your role and maybe how you got into school PR?
Sure. Well, I started in news. I have a background in news as a news reporter. I did that for nearly 8 years. And that's how I began my journey into storytelling. So it was probably about my 7th year in news when I just wasn't really happy anymore. And I was a breaking news reporter, so I did a lot of the tragic stories. I covered a lot of those tragic stories, and it was tragedy after tragedy, and I got tired of it. And I wanted to do something different. I wanted to continue in communications, but just do it in a different capacity. And I wanted to tell those feel good stories, those stories that I believe that, really matter and touch people's lives. And I talked to a couple of folks that had left the news industry, and they started telling me about their journey, some of them into school PR and some other individuals into just different PR agencies. And they absolutely were thrilled and loved what they were doing. And I wanted a part of that. um, so at that time, I started looking for positions in school PR. And I'm from San Antonio. And at that time, there weren't really many positions opening up. So I applied and I applied, and just there wasn't a lot going on. So I asked my husband if he would be open to me exploring options outside of the San Antonio area. And he was like, go for it. Go for it. I am 100% behind you. I know that this is what you want to do. And I did it. I applied everywhere, and I got a couple of calls and opportunities from 3 different locations. And I am now finishing up my first year in the first school district in the state of Texas. And I'm just thrilled to be here. So excited. I can't believe I'm in this place where it's the first school district in the state of Texas. So
That
yeah, I've been here, I guess, next week on July 4th. No, July 7th, it'll be my first year. So I'm
Holy,
excited.
what a first year, Veronica. You so
I
you
know.
you started in the middle of the pandemic, and is this your first position since getting out of media then?
No, actually, so through that journey, when I knew that I wanted to leave the news industry, I started looking at those positions in San Antonio and different school districts, and I was like, okay, so when these positions open up, I want to position myself as a strong candidate. And I knew that as a reporter, there were a couple of things that I was probably missing, or they weren't my. I wasn't really. Strong at. So I took a communication specialist position with the Council of Governments there in San Antonio, and another one with the councilman. So yeah, I with the Council of Governments, I learned all about partnerships and things like that, and website, which I had no knowledge of as a reporter, but there I was able to manage a website for 12 different programs. So it's like thrown into this huge monster, and I just learned so much in those other 2 opportunities, that when this position opened up with Brenham, I felt super confident that I would be able to handle, a lot of the things that you guys do on a day-to-day basis as
Yeah.
communication specialists or directors, or, whatever the position may be.
Awesome. Well, I love, because there's a lot of people listening that have started in the journalism kind of background. And the fact that you knew your limitations, or, of some of the
Yeah.
gaps, and you
Uh-huh.
decided to start looking for that. Now, I've got a geographic question, which Texas is huge. So how far is Brenham from San Antonio? Like, how big a move was that for you and your family?
Oh, well, it's just for me because my husband is still in San Antonio.
Okay.
So I commute on the weekends, and
Okay.
yes, I go back home and spend time with my husband, or he comes here to Brenham. So it's kind of like a little getaway.
Okay.
But Brenham is nestled right in between Houston and Austin, so it's in a pretty cool spot. So if we want to do something, we're about an hour and a half away from Austin and Houston, but it's two and a half hours from San Antonio.
Okay. All
So
right.
I'm like right in the middle of all the action.
Well, we can have a lot of talk about this, Veronica, because I live in two states, right? And we're about an hour and 40 minutes. We got a place in Wisconsin and a place in Minnesota just because of where our kids have to go to school. So you make it work, and I'm sure that setup probably allows you to really focus on your job when you're there
Mhm.
during the week. And obviously, you've had to do that this past year.
Yeah.
You couldn't do a lot of other things anyways,
Right.
because of things being shut down. So tell me a little bit about the size of your district, and those kind of geographic things, just about Brenham.
Right. So we are nearly 5,000 students.
Okay.
And yeah, like I said, we're nestled right in between Houston and Austin. So we're in Southeast Texas. And let's see, yeah, we're about 4,800 students. So about
Okay.
5,000 students.
Yeah. And is it just you then, or do you have a communications team at all, or?
I wish.
So you're the director of communications, but you wear all the hats. And so
I do.
now, yeah. So, this podcast, and we're going to actually dive into your great story of landing a story on the Today Show, which
Uh-huh.
is exciting. But this is all about social media and
Yeah.
mastering social media for schools. So in Brenham, what social media channels are you using?
We use Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We have a YouTube page. Let's see. I use Flip Snack for magazine, our digital magazine.
Okay.
We use Anchor for podcast, for
Okay.
podcast. So yeah, we're pretty much on all the platforms.
Awesome. And then is it you that does primarily all the posting?
Yes, it's just me.
I'm looking at her. Well, I love it, and we're going to dig into some of your best tips and tricks when it comes to that. But let's just dig into this story that was shared on national news this spring during, I think it was National Teacher Appreciation Week. Is that right? Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And
So we're going to link to the story, and so I'll link that in the show notes. But just kind of tell me the start of the start of it.
yeah, so the best part about that is that this stemmed from a social media post.
Okay.
Yeah, so it all ties back to social media and the power of social media. And it's, the power of its reach and how it connects with people. So I obviously, like we mentioned a second ago, I started during a pandemic. And when I got to school PR, I want to tell those stories, those impactful stories of our students and our teachers, right? But at the beginning, it was just information. It was just about COVID. And I was like, man, like I wanted to tell the feel good stories, those stories that tug at your heart, but there just wasn't a lot of time for it. And we had to focus a lot on telling that information at the beginning. And there was a time where I made it my mission where I was like, okay, that's enough. Like we still have to tell the information part because it's important, but I need to make it a priority to be able to connect with this community. And it's my first year here. They need to know, they need to hear of our students and our teachers that are out there giving it 110%. So I made it my mission to go to a campus a day and just kind of sit in the classrooms and observe our teachers, just watch them interact with their students. And then I tried to go pretty much right before lunch so I could have the extra time to talk to them and just ask them about their journey into becoming a teacher or why they were passionate about what they were doing. And yeah, so I did that. And
So you were doing that you were trying to do that every day, visit a different campus. How many different campuses do you have?
we have 8.
Okay.
Yeah, we have 8 different campuses. And yeah, I was trying to go to campus a day. And some of the stories, like I would save them and just compile like all the videos into a folder. And I wouldn't be able to get to them that day or edit them that day or write the story that day. But I would have all the content necessary to be able to schedule my posts. So what I try to do is I schedule 2 videos a week,
Okay.
and it's my storytelling of Brenham ISD. Yeah, so I walked into this classroom at Brenham Elementary, and
I got to stop you right here. So you go into these classrooms, you don't really know what the story is going to be
I don't know
before
this.
you go, but you know there's going to be a story.
I
Because,
know there's going to be a story.
okay, powerful.
Yes, and I walked into Miss Smith's classroom, and she started teaching, doing everything that she normally does. And I told her, hey, I'm not a weirdo. I'm the director of communications, because a lot of folks here don't know me. And I told her I'm just going to sit in the back, just kind of get some video. I capture all the images with my phone. So I just kind of let her know what I was going to do, and don't mind me, continue to do what you're doing. And then when I feel comfortable, I start to see students interact with their teachers. I kind of go up to the students and get closer shots of them. And then I ask them about their teacher, about how they feel about their teacher. Do they love their teacher? And, I get these really cool sound bites, and I feel like they're just little nuggets of powerful storytelling, because I mean they're cute little voices, and I just melt when I hear their voices, and they tell me a lot about their teachers, even though they can't um, go into detail about their lesson plan or whatever, but they know enough to tell you that they love their teacher, they made a butterfly for their teacher, or whatever it is. Or and yeah, so after I get the elements from the students, I talk to the teacher, and I just ask her questions about her journey. Like at first, it's just informational questions, and then I try to get to the questions that will tug at your heart and tell me your why and things like that. And I feel like those are the questions that I always leave for the end, because they start to open up and start to feel a little bit more comfortable with you. And that's how I start weaving my story. So I take all that content, I take it back to my office, and I start writing my story depending on what I hear. Yeah, so that's how I heard of Miss Smith. And when she was telling me her story, I think that one of the things that you have to have when you're talking to your teachers is you have to be a good listener, because you could miss important details that for them it's just like an everyday thing. Like, oh, I started off as a janitor, and I'm like, stop right there. You worked your way from being a janitor because you were watching these teachers and you were inspired by them, and then you went through this whole like journey of losing your family and all this stuff that set you back, but you had this grit and determination to finish school and eventually teach at the school that you cleaned at. And I was like, this is the story. And to her, she was just like telling me the story. And I was like, no, this is powerful. Like, I know a powerful story when I hear one. I'm like, no, you have to elaborate. So like, I just asked her the questions kind of over and over so she could, really take me there and give me her side, her perspective. And yeah, I came back with all this information, and I wrote it up, and I pushed it out across our social media platforms. And just like a news story, just like a video story that I would tell on the news, I had my little intro and tag, and in the middle was like a 2-minute story. And then I pushed out across our social media channels, and that's how it began. This whole storytelling began with with NBC. So,
Okay. So I got to stop you right there.
uh-huh.
So this is so good because I know our listeners are like, oh my gosh, like I could do that, right? Like I'm just thinking about scheduling time in a classroom. You really broke it down with, I explain what I'm doing and then I start taking videos and I start talking to students. Then I try to time it right. So I'm going to actually be able to talk to the teacher, ask
Yes.
them some questions, standard stuff first, then kind of what's your why, and really digging into the meat of the story. I can tell how good of a journalist you were, right? Because you were after that. And I can tell that you love this because it's good stories, right? Like you're not chasing all the drama that unfortunately happens every day as well. But so you're just using your phone, then you come back and you said you wrote up the story. So mainly you're putting the video together. How do you, first of all, with the video, how do you put that together? Like what tools do you use for your video editing?
I honestly, when I'm trying to push something out a little faster, say I don't have the two stories scheduled for that week, I can do it on my phone. And I use an app called Video Leap, and it's
Okay.
absolutely free. And
Okay.
it's just a quick little, it's kind of like a Premiere, but it's for my cell phone. Like I have Premiere and I have the Adobe Suite on my desktop that the school district allows me to have. But I feel like Video Leap is a lot easier. And I also used to use that when I was a reporter. So I'm just very comfortable with it and it works. It's just a quick little cut and bind these two video clips together, or the audio and the image together. And it's just very easy to use.
Okay, that's really good because Video Leap, I haven't heard of that one before, so we'll make sure to link to that exact app in the
Sure.
show notes as well. And you guys, you don't have to master all of the tools. Like you just have to kind of know one, and if you can do it
Yeah.
well, that's powerful. And Veronica, I want to make sure that we get that original post that you had that then caught the attention of the Today Show
Yeah.
here too. So I might reach out to you just to make sure I have that exact post
Okay.
for everybody. But that would be powerful because I'm assuming, I mean, most of the context is in the video. So when you
Mhm.
say maybe you wrote some stuff up, what did you mean by that? Did you write the script up and things for the video, or did you write some text that was going to go along with the video? Explain
Yes.
that.
So when I craft my story, it's basically just crafting my the message around their what they tell me in the interview. And so I when I'm writing my story, I try to think of those powerful little elements, those nuggets of information that really stood out in the interview, that I don't have to go back and listen to the audio and track all that information. So I just kind of already have that in my mind, and I just kind of write a little note. Oh, she said something about she loved her teacher. So after she says she loved her teacher, I'll say something, I'll provide like factual information to go with their storytelling. So I'll provide like wherever she graduated from, or what happened during that specific journey. I provide just content, just factual content, and they provide like the meat of the story that actually takes you on that journey.
Okay. All right. That really helps. Okay. So now you put this out on your own social media channels.
Yes.
One of your two, hopefully, videos that week. And then tell me what happened.
Yes. So I captured the attention of one of the local stations because I'm in a really unique spot. So I get coverage from Bryan, the College Station area, and Houston, the College Station area. So either of these two large markets can reach out and cover our area here. And I captured the attention of the Bryan College Station first. And they asked me about the story, and I said, "Oh yeah, she's got a great story to tell." And so I scheduled an interview with them, and it was unique because we're in the middle of a pandemic, and we had to schedule everything like within 6 feet of distance, and you had to have your boom mic like super far, but yeah, we made it happen, and she had her story told on the College Station TV station.
Okay, I got a quick question.
Uh-huh.
And see, everybody listening on audio, you're like, Veronica and I are looking at each other, and so I can be like, hey, wait up. Um, did you tag them in a post, or
No.
how did they find out about it? Did they find out about it because so many people were like sharing it and then it somehow caught their eye?
Yeah, so they are always kind of looking at our social media pages, and during the school year, I stay pretty active. I always try to at least post or the 3 times a day, and during the week, our videos, and that specific post, it got a lot of shares. It got a lot of like likes on our social media pages, and I think it's just like the power of storytelling,
Okay.
and what you write in the caption. It's just what grabbed their attention.
Okay. That helps.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, so they were the first ones to pick up the story. And then after that, I started pitching it to the Houston station. I contacted the producers, and I had my list of teachers that I had already interviewed and done stories with that I believed had powerful stories to tell. And I wrote it out in a press release, and then I scheduled a phone interview, and then I did everything to try to capture their attention, and finally, the Houston station calls me, and they started asking me about the storytelling here at Brenham ISD. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have so many great stories to tell you. Our teachers are awesome, and they go above and beyond, and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, specifically, like I had my list that I knew would get the attention of TV stations. And yeah, so they were definitely interested in Miss Smith's story. And so they got a wind of the story, and they started posting it. They created their own story as well, and they posted it, and it did really well on their social pages. But yeah, it all began with that one social media post, because they went back and they saw it as well. And he was like, okay, this is what you referenced in your story. And I was like, you saw my video? And they were like, yes, we saw the video. And I was like, oh, awesome. I was like, it's working. It's capturing people's attention. People are the story of our teachers. And yes, I was really excited that we were having just that connection with the audience, and being able to highlight our teachers in a different way, showing giving a glimpse of who they are, and how they're giving 110% in the classroom, and just their story, just telling their story.
Yeah, I'll stop you right there. I just think it's so impactful because we get to be, and I totally am. I am like a cheerleader, like I'm a natural born cheerleader. I think what our teachers and our support staff and our students are, it's all awesome. And it's like, oh my gosh, our staff and students are amazing every
Mhm.
day. And you can say that, but when you break down a specific story,
Yeah.
that is what generates that heart to heart connection and that emotion and that interest. And so you were saying, oh my gosh, we have so many great stories, and then specifically, here's this
Specific.
story about this, and here's Miss Smith, and here's her story of how she went from being a janitor, getting inspired, and coming back and teaching, and she's so beloved. You'll see in the video, you guys, of how her students just love her. And it's very impactful. But that is the power that you're talking about of story and why we need to focus
Yes.
on those individual stories. Because sometimes, Veronica, people say, well, I don't want to just focus on one person
Mhm.
because then other people will feel left out. Well, you guys, those stories are the ones that connect, that represent your entire district, right? Your entire
Yes.
community is represented from those individual stories. And you, Veronica, have a very unique way of digging those stories up that now you just shared with everybody. So, you guys listening, you can't unhear this. You know the secret now. Veronica's spending time in the classroom and she's discovering these stories. She's not just saying, hey, invite me into your classroom when when you've got something big
Mhm.
going on. You're going out and finding those stories, and and we all know that those stories are there, but we got to spend the time, right?
You have to, yes. You have to make that connection. You have to just kind of dig in and like really find out why they love to spend time, why they love to teach students. And they I promise you, they have great stories to tell.
Yeah, and this is a story. I mean, when did you originally post the very first video? Was that in like early April, do you think? Because Teacher Appreciation Week is the first week of May, every year. And so I'm just wondering how far, because first of all, these stories matter the whole year
Yes.
round. It doesn't matter just around Teacher Appreciation Week or Day
No.
or anything like that. But do you remember that timeline at all?
It wasn't, it took time,
Okay.
Andrea. It was probably like December.
Okay.
Yeah, it was probably like December, but I made a list of the teachers who really had those stories that I felt that the media would pick up, and I could pitch them, and they would say, okay, we're gonna do this story. So I just had them in a list. So if I had an opportunity to pitch a story, then I'm like, here's my stories.
Right. Okay. So now Houston picked it up, and now when does Today Show get kind of involved?
Yes. So it was around gosh, I can't remember. It was all a blur, but they contacted me, and they saw the video. They saw the social media video, the video, and they said, "Tell me more about Miss Wanda. We're thinking about the possibility of highlighting her for National Teacher Week." And I already had my pitch down. I told you, like, I had my list, and I was like, oh my gosh, yes. And I said, she has grit, she has determination. If you want a true story of perseverance, this is the story to tell. I think it resonates with, like everyone. And right now, people need that story, those inspiring stories, because the world that we're living in, we need something to grasp onto, that hope, and she gives that hope. And like it took maybe like 2 or 3 conversations with them, the phone exchanges with through phone and email, and then they said yes. And then they told me, okay, she's going to be the only teacher highlighted. And I was like, no way. The only teacher highlighted on national TV, NBC. And I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. So I couldn't wait to hang up the phone and tell the superintendent. And then I called Wanda, and I was like, Wanda, because she really didn't even like me doing my little story.
Right.
And I had already like kind of begged her to do the other stories with the media channels. So when I told her this was national TV, and I had worked with national TV as a former reporter, and I knew the scope of things when you work with NBC, like all the camera equipment, the huge live trucks, and all that. And I told her, this is not going to be just like one person with their small video camera. This is going to be like an 18-wheeler, like a big bus with cameras, and they're at satellite truck and all this stuff. She's like, oh my gosh, I'm not sure. And I was like, just continue to tell your story. the same story that you told me, the same story that you shared with the other station. I said, just tell them your story. I said, they're gonna love you. And yeah, it just kind of happened after that. It happened really quickly, and when NBC reached out to me, I think it took like maybe a month and a half of planning. It
Okay.
was going to be a surprise. So I didn't tell her until later, like almost, almost like a week before. Just hey, NBC just reached out. We're just going to do another story, and but I was like, this is going to be just in case, like this is going to be a little bit bigger because they're going to have more cameras. But
Right.
it's no big deal.
Yeah, easier said than done. Well, she did a
Right.
great job. It was powerful. It gave a lot back to your community and in the school. I just think that's a great lesson in the power of story, which is what we're all after. And this has been such a great conversation. And of course, Veronica, our time flew. I should mention, you had this story and you reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'd love to be on your podcast and share
Mhm.
this." And I'm so glad you did. Those of you listening that have powerful stories, reach out and you can share your wisdom as well, because this is really, really powerful. Um, just any last few words that you want to share just about Miss Smith's story?
Uh,
I think we covered it.
yeah, I
I
think we
think we
covered
I think we did a
it.
really, really good job. So as we kind of close out, um, we've talked about story obviously a lot. And so I'm imagining your best social media tip is going to be around that. But if you had to have your number one tip for people doing social media for school, what would it be?
Wow. Okay. So probably my tip would be just make your stories meaningful. Find that nugget, that that word, that sentence that tugs at your heart, and write your captions around that, write your content around that, and be a good listener, because what might be every day to them is not every day to you or to the community. It might inspire someone. Like Miss Smith's story, I had janitors reach out, post on our social media page that it inspired them to continue to go to school and reach their dreams of whatever it may be. So just be a good listener, make your stories memorable, and continue to tell those powerful stories that I know a lot of our school PR folks are already doing. So
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. This was so, so helpful. So, people are probably going to want to get connected to you, Veronica. What is the best way that they can kind of stay connected?
I am a little bit more active on Instagram.
Okay.
So if they want to reach out to me, my Instagram is V_Gallegos, which is my main last name. It's GALLEGOS.
Awesome. We'll make sure
And
to link that in the show notes as well. And is it okay if I share your work email as well?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay.
You can
So
share everything. My cell phone number. I don't care.
well, we'll for sure get your email out there. So if
Okay.
you've got further questions for Veronica, just reach out. Gosh, I can't wait. And with your powerful video stories, what I really want to encourage everybody is follow Brenham ISD. You can look and see what kind of stories Veronica's able to tell, even in a pandemic last year. But now going into this year, I can't wait to see what you're going to be sharing.
Mhm.
And that's the best way to learn, is to look at other accounts that are doing really well. And so all of Brenham's social media channels are linked in the show notes as well. So follow those, get inspired, and just keep telling those stories. So thank you so much for your time today, Veronica.
Thank you, Andrea. I appreciate your time, and you are doing an amazing job. Like you really inspired me with your Facebook challenge and all that stuff to continue to put everything at the forefront and make it actionable items. So just go back and make sure that I hold myself accountable. So you continue to do everything that you're doing because you're doing an amazing job.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Working with you folks is like it's a dream come true, because of the inspiring inspiring work you guys are all doing. So happy to be part of it. And thanks for listening, you guys. Let's take some action now. What Veronica shared, it's time, it's listening, it's finding those stories, but they're there and they have a big impact. And so I can't wait to see the stories that you tell this school year as well. So until next time, guys, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Adios.